Om Shri Sai Ram. Dear students, in the previous classes, we have discussed in geography the first chapter, India, position and extent. Today in this class, let us discuss the second chapter, India, physiography. So, in this chapter, we are going to learn the following points. The first one is general features of the landforms of India. Some of the general features of the landforms of India we are going to study in this chapter as a first part. The secondly, physiographic divisions of India. Thirdly, important features of physical divisions. These are the 3 points we are going to discuss in this chapter. Firstly, general features of landforms of India. Second, physiographic divisions of India. Third is important features of physical divisions. So, India is a vast country. All of you know that the position of India in terms of area, it occupies 7th place in the world. India is the 7th largest country in the world. It is a vast country and it is having 32 lakhs 87,263 square kilometer of area. It is the 7th largest country in the world. It is a vast country. Then, which is the first largest country in the world? Very good. Russia is the first largest country in the world. And also we have discussed in the previous chapter, our India is located in which continent, or which is our continent? Our continent is Asia. There are 7 continents in the world. The largest continent is Asia. So, India is located in Asia. So, India is a vast country. It is the 7th largest country in the world. It is having the area 32 lakhs 87,263 square kilometer, and it has a variety of landforms. It is a vast country and it has a variety of landforms. Mainly the mountains, plateaus, plains and so on. And they include these mountains, plateaus and plains, valleys and coastal plains. Varieties of landform can be seen in India. And they have influence on river system. These landforms, variety of landforms, they have influences on river system. Can you name some of the important rivers of India? Very good. River Indus, River Ganges, River Brahmaputra, Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, Narmada. Good. These are all some of the important rivers of India. So, these landforms of our country influence the river system, climate, natural vegetation, land use pattern, agriculture, transport and distribution of population. All these things are mainly depending on the landforms of India. How it influences? See, if you take the example of climate, the northern part of India, and southern part of India. One of the important imaginary line, the Tropic of Cancer passes through middle of our country. It divides India into two parts, northern India and southern India. So we have different climate in northern India and different climate in southern India. That is because of landform. In northern part we can see that mountains, plains. In southern part it is a Deccan Plateau region. That is why that landform influences the climate of our country. It also influences natural vegetation. Because of the rivers flow in our country, we have dense evergreen forest. That is depending on the landform. Land use pattern. Some area is very fertile, some area is less fertile, and some area is not useful for agriculture purpose. So this is the land use pattern mainly depending on the landforms of our country. So we have different varieties of landforms, and also it influences agriculture. The landform influences on agriculture. What do you mean by agriculture? Agriculture means tilling the land and growing of the crops is called agriculture. So here in India, agriculture is the major occupation. Many people in our country mainly depending on agriculture. So this agriculture also, it's mainly influenced by the landform. How it influences on agriculture? How the landform influences on agriculture? If the land is plain and filled with alluvial soil, we can grow good variety of crops. So that is how it influences. And transport. In the mountainous region, difficult to have the good network of transportation. The country's progress mainly depending on the transport and communication. If the region is having good network of transport and communication, it will be more helpful for the progress and development of the country. And also it influences on distribution of population. You know, some region are densely populated. Do you know what is the meaning of density of population? Population density means the number of people staying in 1 square kilometer of area. Some area it is more, 5,000, 6,000 it is. Some area it is less. That is mainly depending on the landforms. In the mountainous region, density of population is very less. In the plain region, the density of population is very high. So this is how the landform which we have in India, variety of landforms, that influences our India's climate, the river system, natural vegetation, land use pattern, agriculture, transport and distribution of population. So now let us discuss the physiographic divisions of India. So on the basis of physiography, we have discussed that India has got variety of landforms. Some area you can see mountainous region, some area is plain land, some areas plateaus, and we have coastal plains and deserts, and also other important landforms can be seen in India. So, on the basis of the physiography of our country, the India can be divided into four major divisions. Four major physical divisions they have divided. They are, the first one is northern mountains. The second one is the northern great plains, the riverine basins. And third is the peninsular plateau, Deccan plateau. And fourth is the coastal plain and islands. So, these are the four important physiographic divisions of India. The first one is the northern mountains, the great northern mountain walls. The second one is the great northern plains drained by several important rivers. The third one is the peninsular plateau. The fourth one, the coastal plains and islands. So, these are the four important physiographic divisions of India. Now, let us discuss one by one. The first one is the northern mountains. The great northern mountains are the Himalayan range. So, they are comprised of Himalayas. So, it has the group of young fold mountains. How we can say that the mountain is young or old? By looking at the people, we can easily say that you are young and others are old. But how do we differ the young mountains and old mountains? Yes, mainly on the basis of the height of the mountains. On the basis of the height of the mountains, we can say that it is young or old. The young mountain's height will be more and old mountains height will be little less. So, on the basis of that, we can say that old mountains and young mountains. So, it is comprised of young fold mountains. The fold mountains they are. Himalayas are young fold mountains. Because of the height, we can say that young and fold mountains. The formation of Himalayan mountains, you know the tectonic plates movements. There are two types of movements in the tectonic plates. Due to the chemical reaction inside the earth, you know that there are three layers in the earth. Can you name the three layers of the earth? Very good. There are three layers in the earth. That is crust, mantle and core. These are the three layers. So, inside the inner core, due to the chemical reaction inside the earth, the tectonic plates movement takes place. The tectonic plates movement take place. These movements will be in two types. One is convergent movement, another one is divergent movement. So, it tears the land or earth into parts and start moving away from each other. That is called divergent movement. The earth and starts moving like this. The depression part will be filled with the water. This is how the formation of oceans and continents. And in that landform, if the movement, convergent movements, if it is not going away, if it is not divergent movement, convergent movement means it comes like this. This is how the formation of mountains, due to the convergent movement of the earth, tectonic plates, the mountains are formed. That is how it is called young fold mountains, recently formed. Recently in the sense not few years before, several million years before the formation, they are called young fold mountains. If they are only young fold mountains, Himalayas are formed several million years ago, then old mountains are formed in how many years ago, you can imagine. And they extend as a continuous chain along the northern boundary of India. In the last chapter we have discussed, we have two frontiers. One is the land frontier and water frontier. India has got the land frontier, that is boundary about 15,200 kilometers. In that, if you look at the northeastern side of India or northern side, there we can see this mountain. You can just observe this map, physical map of India. You can easily understand. So it extends as a continuous chain along the northern boundary of India, and they are the highest mountain ranges in the world. These Himalayan mountains, Young-fold mountains, are the highest mountain ranges in the world, and they have high peaks, deep valleys, and gorges and passes. So these Himalayan mountains have got the high peaks, highest peak in the world, and also the deep valleys, U-shaped valleys, V-shaped valleys can be seen here, and gorges and passes. All these things can be seen in Himalayan mountains. So they are Young-fold mountains, and they are a continuous chain along the northern boundary of India, and they are the highest mountain ranges in the world. They have high peaks, valleys, and gorges and passes. So here some of the pictures, beautiful pictures of this high peak and also deep valleys. Like this, several deep valleys can be seen in Himalayan mountains, and also high peaks also can be seen in Himalayan mountains. Himalayan mountain consisted of several high peaks, deep valleys, gorges and passes. And gorge and also pass, this also can be seen here. So pass. So in this, in India they extend from Indus Gorge in the west to the Brahmaputra Gorge in the east. It is about 2,400 kilometers. So from here, the river Indus, from river Indus in the west until the river Brahmaputra in the east, there is a continuous range stretches from Indus in the west to the Brahmaputra in the east. It is nearly about 2,400 kilometers length. from west to east, in the west Indus Valley to Brahmaputra region in the east. You know that river Indus is one of the most important river. On the river bank of Indus, all of you heard that the Indus Valley civilization flourished along the river valley of Indus and its tributaries. River Indus and its tributaries. That region was also called as Sapta Sindhu region. The 7 tributaries of river Indus. Can you name the tributaries of river Indus? Yes. River Indus, Ravi, Chenab, Beas, Sutlej, Jhelum and Saraswati. All of you know that in history you have studied. On the river bank of Jhelum, Alexander the Great fought against our Indian ruler, great Indian ruler, Porus. Porus made him to wait 6 months. So great emperor Alexander, he waited 6 months to cross that river to attack the Porus. That is on the river bank of Jhelum. It is one of the tributary of river Indus. Our Himalayan mountain stretches from Indus river to Brahmaputra river from west to east. It is about 2400 kilometers. So the width, it varies from 242 to 320 kilometers. In some area it is 240 kilometers, some area it is 250, 270, 260, it extends up to 320 kilometers. The width of the mountain, 240 to 320 kilometers. So they border in the west and broader in the west and also the narrow in the east. In the west, they are broader, and if we go towards east, narrow. The broader in the west and narrow in the east. So they cover an area of 5 lakh square kilometers. You know that our India's area. What is the total area of India in square kilometer? India has got 32 lakh 87,263 square kilometer of area. In that, this Himalayan mountains occupies 5 lakh square kilometers, and they have steep slopes towards the India, towards the south of the Himalayan mountains, towards India. They have steep slopes. Very steep slopes can be seen towards south of the Himalayan mountains, that is towards India, and gentle slopes towards the north, that is towards the Tibet. Gentle slope. Steep slope towards India, south, and towards north they have gentle slope. Clear? So the Himalayas consists of 3 parallel ranges. Himalayan ranges consisted of 3 parallel ranges. So one is Greater Himalaya, Himadri. The second one is Lesser Himalaya, Himachal, and the Shivalik, the lower Himalayas. Upper Himalaya, Middle Himalaya and Lower Himalayas. That is Greater Himalayas, Lesser Himalayas and Shivalik range. Himadri, Himachal, Shivalik. These are the 3 ranges. Himalayan mountains consisted of 3 parallel ranges. One is Greater Himalaya, can be seen in this map. The first, that is Greater Himalayas. The second is Lesser Himalayas. The third is the Shivalik range. So these are the three important parallel ranges which can be seen in Himalayan mountains. So look at the picture. So Greater Himalayas. Himalayan mountain divided into three parallel ranges. One is the Greater Himalaya, Lesser Himalaya and Shivalik. So this is the Greater Himalayas. Yes. They are the innermost continuous and also highest range. These Greater Himalayas are the continuous and also innermost and highest ranges. So the average height of this Greater Himalayas, that is 6,100 meters average. Above that one only. The average height of that mountain is above 6,100 meters. So these ranges have many high peaks. Himalayan mountains divided into three ranges: Greater Himalayas, Lesser Himalayas and Shivalik. In Greater Himalayas, they are the continuous and also highest ranges, and their height is average, that is 6,100 meters. So these ranges have many high peaks. So which are the high peaks? Let us see here. The Mount Everest is the highest mountain peak in the world. It is having 8,848 meters height. The highest mountain peak in the world is located or situated in Himalayan mountain range. The other important peaks of this Greater Himalayas are Kanchanjunga, that is 8,559 meters, and Makulu 8,481 meters. Dhaulagiri, you can look at the map also. Some important peaks are located or marked on that map. So Dhaulagiri and Manaslu, Nanda Devi and so on. So these are all the some important examples of high peaks which are located in Greater Himalayas. The world's highest peak, Mount Everest, 8,848 meters height, that is located in this range. So these ranges, they have many high peaks. So they are the home of many glaciers. The Greater Himalayas consisted of many high peaks. So they are the home of many glaciers. So what do you mean by glaciers? Glaciers means nothing but the large mass of ice slowly moves like a river. The ice slowly moves like a river. The large mass of ice slowly moves like a river. It is called a glacier. So such glaciers are also seen in Himalayan mountain ranges. Example, Gangotri glaciers and Yamunotri glaciers. The river Ganges takes birth in Gangotri glaciers, and Yamunotri glacier, the river Yamuna. These are all the some important examples of glaciers. Large mass of ice slowly moves like a river is called a glacier. So such glaciers are found in the Greater Himalayas. So there are many passes. We have already seen the picture how the passes looks. So here there are many passes, that is Burzil Pass and Lozila Pass and Shipkila Pass. These are the some example passes in the Himalayan mountain ranges. So it is having the many passes like Burzil Pass and Lozila Pass and Shipkila Pass. So the mountains lying to the northwest of Himadri are called Trans Himalayas. the mountains which are lying towards the northwest, they are called or known as Himadri. As I told you already, Himadri, Himachal, Shivalik, the greater Himalayas in the northwest, which are lying towards the northwest of this Himadri, are called the Trans Himalayas. So they comprise of the Karakoram range, where the highest peak K2 or the Mount Godwin Austen is located. So Trans Himalayan range, this Trans Himalaya is nothing but the mountains lying towards the northwest of this Himadri is called or known as Trans Himalaya. So there it comprises of Karakoram range. In Karakoram range we can see the highest peak K2 or Mount Godwin Austen is located. It is the highest peak in India. So which is the highest peak in the world? The highest peak in the world is Mount Everest, which is having 8,848 meters. The highest peak in India is peak K2 or Mount Godwin Austen. It is located in Trans Himalaya. It is the highest peak in India. So look at the picture of the highest peak in India, that is Mount Godwin Austen. So next is the Lesser Himalayas. The second important parallel range in the Himalayan mountain ranges. The Greater Himalaya is the first, the second one is the Lesser Himalayas. So here just look at this picture, how it is located in the Himalayan mountain range. So the Lesser Himalayas, these ranges are located to the south of Greater Himalayas. The first is Greater Himalaya. Towards the south of the Greater Himalaya, Lesser Himalayas are there. They are also known as Himachal. The Greater Himalayas are Himadri. The Lesser Himalayas, which are located towards the south of the Himadri, they are called Himachal. The Lesser Himalayas are also known as Himachal. So they are 60 to 80 kilometers wide and also 2,500 to 4,500 meters height. So the average height of the Greater Himalaya is 6,100. The second parallel range, that is Lesser Himalaya, it is also called as Himachal. That's average height is 2,500 meters to 4,500 meters. It is the average height of the Lesser Himalayas. The eastern part is covered with forest. In this Lesser Himalaya, eastern part, it is covered with the dense forest, and there are many parallel ranges in the Lesser Himalayas. So example, the Pir Panjal, the Dauladhar, the Nagatiba, the Missouri, the Mahabharat range and the Darjeeling ranges. These are some of the examples which are the parallel ranges which are located in the Lesser Himalayas or in Himachal. So they contain many valleys such as Kashmir Valley, Kangra Valley and Kulu valleys. Many valleys are contained in the Lesser Himalayas. Example, Kashmir Valley, the scenic beauty, the Kangra Valley and Kulu valleys. These are located in the Lesser Himalayas. So these are also noted for hill stations such as Shimla, Ranikhet, Mussoorie, Nainital and Darjeeling, the hill stations. The important hill stations also can be seen in the lesser Himalayas. Next is the third important parallel range of the Himalayan mountain range, that is Shivalik. The first one is Greater Himalaya. It is also called Himadri. Second is Lesser Himalayas towards the south of the Himadri, that is called Himachal, and the third is Shivalik Hills. So, they are the outermost range or the foothills located at the south of the Himalayas. The outermost range and located towards the south, the foothills of the Himalayas, therefore, they are also known as outer Himalayas. Shivaliks are also called as known as outer Himalayas. First one is Greater Himalaya, second is Lesser Himalaya, and another parallel range which is situated towards the south of this Himalaya, that is called the outer Himalayas. The Shivalik ranges are located at the foothills of the Himalayas. That is why they are called as the outer Himalayas. So, they are the lowest range of Himalayas. The height of this is 600 meters to around 500 to 600 meters height. It varies from 15 to 150 kilometers width. The width of that range from 15 to 150 kilometers, and average height around 600 to 700 or 500 to 700. The Greater Himalayas average height is 6,100 meters. The Lesser Himalayas average height is 2,500 to 4,500 meters. The outer Himalayas or the Shivaliks average height is 500 meters to 600 meters, and the width varying from 15 to 150 kilometers. So, they extend from Jammu and Kashmir in the west. They extend from Jammu and Kashmir in the west and Arunachal Pradesh in the east. From west to east, Jammu Kashmir to Arunachal Pradesh. So, all these three ranges are parallel ranges: Greater Himalayas, Lesser Himalayas, and Outer Himalayas are Shivaliks. It extends from Jammu Kashmir in the west to Arunachal Pradesh in the east. So, they have flat bottom, and structured valleys which are known as dunes. They have flat bottom and also the structured valleys. These flat bottom and also structured valleys are known as dunes. So, example is Dehradun. Like that, it is famous for dunes because they have got the flat bottom and structured valleys can be seen in this Shivalik range. That is why they are called dunes. So, one of the example for the dune is Dehradun. So, now after discussing there are three important parallel ranges of Himalayas. Which are the three important parallel ranges of the Himalayas? The first one is Greater Himalayas. It is also called as Himadri. Second one, Lesser Himalayas, Himachal. The third one is Shivalik or Outer Himalayas. Now, the importance of Himalayas. What are the importance of this Himalayan mountain range? What are the benefits? How it is more important to our country. The first one is the Himalayan mountains prevent foreign invasions. It is border from Jammu Kashmir to Arunachal Pradesh. Enemies could not cross and come into the India. So it prevents foreign invasions. And second one is these Himalayan mountains prevent the cold wind from Central Asia. The cold wind which is blowing from the Central Asia, they are blocked by Himalayan mountains. So it protects us or Indians from the cold wind which is blowing from the Central Asia. So it prevents the foreign invasions, and also it prevents us from the cold wind which is blowing from the Central Asia and obstruct the rain bearing winds, and this cause heavy rainfall. You know that our India mainly depending on the monsoon rainfall. What do we mean by monsoon? Monsoon means nothing but Mausam, season. It is a seasonal wind. The monsoon wind is a seasonal wind which blows in the particular season. So it starts from Arabian Sea and enters Kerala and blocked by Western Ghats and pushes towards northward, and it reaches the Vindhya and Satpur range and again blocked by them and moves towards the east. When it moves towards the east, the Himalayas block them. So all the clouds are formed in that region. That is why that state named as Meghalaya. It is one of the eastern state of India. The highest rainfall in Mawsimram is recorded in that place. The highest rainfall found in India, the world, Mawsimram near Cherrapunji in Meghalaya. Megha means clouds, the land of clouds. So this is how the Himalayan mountains, they block or check the clouds and causes heavy rainfall. And slopes have thick forest. The Himalayan mountain slopes in the lesser Himalayas, towards the east of the lesser Himalayas, we can see dense forest, and it is ideal for plantation crops. It is good for plantation agriculture, plantation crops. Can you name some of the plantation crops? Yes, very good. Tea, coffee, and so on. These are all the plantation crops. So that is ideal for plantation crops. And storehouse of minerals. So many types of minerals are found in Himalayan mountain range. It is a storehouse of mountain minerals. And it is also the birthplace of many rivers, storehouse of water. Many rivers are taken birth in Himalayan mountain ranges. They flow throughout the year. Some of the South Indian rivers flow only in the particular season, in the rainy season. But many of the North Indian rivers flow throughout the year. That is because of Himalayan mountains. And these rivers are helping us by constructing the dams to generate the hydroelectric power, and also useful for various purpose. The water is used to grow different varieties of crops, and most fertile soil, alluvial soil, is deposited on the banks of the river, so that people can grow good variety of crops, and makes the land or our country very prosperous. So these are all the importance of the Himalayas. Himalayas protects us from the foreign invasions. It also protects us from the cold wind which is blowing from the Central Asia, and the rain bearing winds are obstructed by this and also causes heavy rainfall to India. And slopes have thick forest, dense forest, different kinds of animals and different varieties of plants seen in that forest, and it is ideal for plantation crops and storehouse of several minerals, and it's a storehouse of water. So many rivers take birth in that Himalayan mountains, and it is also good to generate the hydroelectric power. So these are all the importance of the Himalayas. Okay. So now in this period we have discussed in the physiographic divisions. The first one, the Himalayan mountain ranges of the north. So remaining parts or remaining physiographic divisions, let us discuss in the next class. So now I would like to give you some questions. Prepare well and come back to the next class and let us discuss in the next class. The first question, the greater Himalayas are also called as. The second one, the lesser Himalayas are also known as. The third one, which are the main physiographic divisions of India? Very simple questions. So work on these questions and let us meet in the next class. Sai Ram.